Welcome into this fun Friday edition of The Meltdown. Thrilled to have you on board as we all went to go see Furiosa last night as it battles an Italian food-loving feline this weekend at the box office. We'll run through some of the biggest headlines in Hollywood from the week with a new hot or cold segment that I'm working to perfect. One day I will reach that level. And Lunce's List will rank the definitive list of John's favorite Chris's in the acting profession. It's all happening right here on The Meltdown as we are brought to you by MyBookie and broadcasting live from the Culver studio.
Two big balls in a tiny studio, teaching you and me about everything they know that makes sound a meltdown. It's the meltdown, time for the meltdown, coming for the meltdown. Let's start the show.
And a big welcome to you, all of our lovely, beautiful Meltdonians that are here with us ahead of the Memorial Day weekend. We are thrilled to be here live with you every weekday, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. We will be back on Tuesday of next week. For those watching over the weekend, we hope that you will join us. John Lunsford is my co-host. He will not be here with us Tuesday as he is set to, yet again, go under the knife. Is this for the last time?
Last time for that, then I have to start allergy shots. And they do this thing. They didn't have it when I first did allergy shots because I used to get it because of like grass around football and everything. That you have to go for like an entire day, and they shoot you up with 6 months worth of allergy shots. Basically, like they shoot you up and then give you a bunch of medicine. Shoot you up, give you a bunch of medicine to kind of help kickstart everything. You basically skip almost a whole year of taking shots like
Right.
on the program. So
Wow.
I don't know if I'll have to miss a day for that or not. I'm not sure exactly how long it is, but you know, we'll see.
Well, we will be prepared because we have the lovable producer known as Tyler here with us, making everything work back there behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, I mean 3 feet away from me. Tyler, yesterday we had another edition of Meltdown Arcade. It was really fun interacting with the chat during all of that. And I felt like during the day you got progressively better at every game we played.
I felt like I was getting the hang of Smash for sure. I had only played Super Smash Brothers Brawl mainly, so all the new characters in Smash Ultimate are just...
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming and intimidating.
Which is why yesterday we wanted John to do a sampling of all the different character types, as many as we could work in. We went for over 3 hours yesterday on the stream.
Yep.
A
long
large
stream.
percentage of that was Smash, but I think we're learning a lot about our strengths and weaknesses from that game, and pretty soon you'll have sort of a tournament style so we can battle each other one-on-one, which I'm just going to warn everybody gets quite intense.
Yes, because neither me nor Tim got any of our main characters that we play yesterday. So the ones we typically like to beat people down with, we did not get to play. But we had some intense times back in the past between you and me, your cousin, one of our friends, all battling together, and other people. That we had some intense competition. I got a lot of spreadsheets from back in the day. It's super nerdy, but it's like super intense.
Yes, absolutely. It is intense, and we will continue to work through that intensity here with you on the live show. One thing I like to be is very transparent here on the show.
I guess he's your nephew.
He is. I wasn't going to correct you.
Sorry,
Unlike the way y'all treat me in the hosting chair, I'm not going to just sit here and
corrected.
constantly correct you, okay? I was just going to move on and let that blemish be what it is. But I do want to confess that because of our gaming yesterday,
Yes.
normally on Thursdays I reach out to our lovely Friday guest, that's Laurel Lunsford, and I went so long and was so exhausted by the gaming that I did not reach out to Laurel. And so there's been a little bit of a conflict in the booking because all day long John has asked me, are you
was confirming.
are you sure Laurel's on the show today? Are you sure it's happening? I'm like, yes, I want Laurel every single Friday. That's what makes it a fun Friday. So Laurel, my apologies to you.
Well, I was just, making sure I don't want to just show up unannounced.
No, I almost expected, here's what I would like. Just keep showing up every Friday until you're told not to. That's pretty much it.
And then on that day, I'll have a rebuttal on
Right.
the YouTube show.
Exactly. No,
I'm
but
still Tyler. Tyler, I thought you would come with me. Like, I feel like Tyler
Oh, absolutely.
would definitely
You
come
thought
with
the
me.
Monday Night Wars were crazy? Wait till the Friday afternoon wars.
absolutely. Okay. Now, Fun Friday starts off on a sour note here because I actually have a very serious story I want to get into, but it's with Laurel here. It was announced.
God.
This is a serious story.
Okay.
John, why are you laughing? There's nothing funny about it.
It's a fun Friday depressing story.
It's about to be depressing here to start off with, but I'm talking to Laurel about it and not you because I know Laurel will take it seriously and you will not. So if you could get John off camera completely, Tyler, I would appreciate it because I really want to talk to Laurel about this. The DEA and LAPD announced this week that they are launching a criminal investigation into Matthew Perry's death, which was caused by acute ketamine effects last year.
Right.
Perry was found face down and unresponsive in a hot tub at his home on October 28th, which resulted from the acute effects of ketamine, an anesthetic with psychedelic properties. Ketamine has become increasingly popular as a therapy for treatment-resistant depression and other mental health issues, as you've heard on the next round. May is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's also used recreationally. Perry had publicly acknowledged his long struggle with alcohol and drug use, but official reports continue to state that he had been sober for 19 months, and little was known about his relationship to ketamine. Laurel, you are a massive fan of Friends.
I am.
You also stay glued to a lot of true crime stories.
I do.
You follow celebrity culture.
Okay, it's making it sound sad now. But
No,
yes.
I'm not trying to make it sound sad about you. I'm saying that you're the person I'm turning to here to ask how curious you are about detectives and there being more information coming out about getting to the bottom of this, about how Matthew Perry actually died, what resulted in his death. Is this something you want more answers on? Or are you the type that is like, it's a sad situation that you don't want to have to keep thinking about being the big Friends fan that you are?
No, I mean, I think when it happened, we were in Disney World when it happened, right?
This was
Sure.
October of 2013.
Yeah.
Yes. We were
So
horrified.
I was shocked when I saw it, especially because I had thought he had been clean for such a long
Did I
period.
say 2013? I meant 2023. I'm so sorry.
I
It's
knew
been a
what you
long
meant.
week.
Since he had been clean for such a long time, because he had just released a book and kind of talked about that, I did think it was weird the way that they found him. You know, anytime that you find someone in a bathtub or anything like that, I think people are going to be like, that's a little interesting. It kind of reminds me of Marilyn Monroe. I mean, there's still so many things that circulate about her death because there were no drugs found in her system. They keep saying, oh, it was a drug overdose and it was, done this way or whatever, but there were technically no drugs in her system. So I am curious to see if, he was kind of he's kind of had a shady past with all of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it had something to do with it. But it's like if the reports are coming back that there weren't anything in this, like, well, what's going on here?
Right. Ketamine has been legal since 1970 for use in both people and animals. Ketamine is rarely lethal, but an overdose can cause unconsciousness and dangerously slowed breathing, according to the DEA. The amount of ketamine found in Perry's system was extremely high. For the past week, I have been reading, actually, Perry's memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. Have you read this book? You have any interest in this book?
I did read it. I read it right when it came out. I think he and Britney Spears were probably at the top of most people's list, like last year, that it was really interesting to read about both. But both have kind of sad stories, but obviously Matthew Perry's has ended up significantly worse. But
so far, I mean, Britney didn't feel like she's trending in the right direction a lot of times. Every time she posts on social media.
I think it's hard, especially I grew up with Britney Spears. Seeing how she has turned out, it's like heartbreaking because, I mean, we talk about Taylor Swift being what she is. Back then, when I was younger, like Britney Spears was that. And with Friends, Matthew Perry, we talk about this all the time. I think Matthew Perry, had he not had all the drug involvement, I think he could have been a pretty big star because he had, out of everyone in that cast, Jennifer Aniston obviously had the Brad Pitt factor. So everyone, was obsessed with that. But movie-wise, his movies did really well, especially that one that he did with Bruce Willis.
Hold on,
yeah, that was like a really big hit. And then right after that, he was like trending and upwards. And that's when he got involved with drugs and just was shoddy after that.
Yeah, it was a lifelong battle. They're detailed in his book. He's very open and honest about all of it. And I think the best thing about that book, and John, this is where I think that I want to bring you into the conversation, is that I think that his book is going to save lives.
Yes,
I would 100% agree.
And people can go through some really tough stuff, but when they get to the end of it and they somehow survive, which it is amazing that Matthew Perry survived as long as he did, with all the things that he details in that book, to be able to use that as a positive to save future lives of people going through those problems and be an inspiration in that regard, I think is just such a great thing. And it's something I hope more and more people lean into when they are given the opportunity to use their struggles, their story, to try to affect change in other people, even if they feel like they have to constantly battle it themselves every single day.
Yeah, I don't know if he was the kind of person that went out and ever talked about anything during his months of sobriety, but
I feel like he did. I know. I think one of the things, the biggest thing that sticks out to me in the book is the part where he's talking about Chris Farley, because Chris Farley and Jim Belushi, all of those people kind of have had like a similar, like really bad fate. And when Chris Farley passed away, they were in the middle of shooting. It's Almost Heroes. I think is that the name of the movie?
that one he did with him,
Yeah. And he said that he was there having to talk about Chris Farley, who had passed away from drugs. And he's like, he get done with an interview and then to be like dousing like pills. Right. And it's like, you're talking about someone who is literally like died from what you are doing. And I think you're totally right that I think people can look at this and say, there's a lot of demons, but for that time period, he was able to really overcome it. And now that you're seeing what has happened, I do think it can definitely be something that can help save lives.
From a friend's perspective, how did you think that they handled the reunion there? It was on Max, wasn't it?
Yes.
With James Corden coming in, interviewing him for half. The other half was a round table sort of reunion, get together, laugh about some things. At times it felt a little awkward.
If you look at because I feel like Felicia's a big fan of Friends, right? Are you a Friends?
I'm probably a little bit bigger of a Friends fan than she is.
Okay, so with we've all watched the episodes. I think with the cast, there's always been like certain 1, 2, 3, like how everyone's ranked. I would say Chandler was by far the most popular character. Now, if we're talking about people that made it celebrity-wise, Jennifer Aniston is by far and away like number one. And I feel like she has stayed close to the women. And I feel like she was very supportive of Matthew Perry as well, because, I think he was one of the last people, I think that he texted, like there was something that reminded her of something. Yeah. And I think she kind of kept up with him, but he kind of seemed withdrawn, like, because he really hasn't done, Matt LeBlanc, he was on some show. I don't watch those sitcoms, but he was on one of those sitcoms for a few years. Ross, Paul, what's his name?
David Schwimmer.
David Schwimmer. He
done the trial of O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, and he pops something every now and then.
Madagascar.
That's a
there
big
go,
one.
Tyler.
Yeah, that's a
Milman
big one.
the giraffe.
Lisa Kudrow pops. She plays a mom and things. Courtney Cox, Scream, and then Jennifer Aniston. Is constantly working.
Don't forget about Cougar Town now.
Cougar Town was good.
See, it seems like, and I'm not a Friends person. I've watched a lot more because of Laurel, but like, it definitely seems like Jennifer Aniston is way, way up at the top. And then it kind of seems like from the outside, Courtney Cox is next because she had a hit show after that. Scream has kept going for her, that she's had plenty of other stuff. And then
I think she has a show on now. It's that show where she's talking to Ghost. We heard about it when she was talking on some other podcast. So she's consistently working.
She got star power. She's always had it, and she's never lost it.
They are definitely above. I don't know if it'd be right to say all three of the women were ahead of all three of the men or not, because it seems like Lisa Kudrow pops up, not giant starring roles, but she pops up a lot of times. But it definitely was that was what was weird for me coming in, because I know the actors, I don't know the characters necessarily, and I don't know the hierarchy of like who was the more popular characters within the show. But then coming in, knowing where Matthew Perry was in his life, obviously, but then knowing how Jennifer Aniston was so much bigger than all of them, it was kind of fun watching them come back and see, boy, this person's star is a lot bigger than that person's star, and they're coming back as equals now.
What they should have done, I think that was fine for what they did. And I think a lot of people were under the impression that they were going to do an episode.
Right.
I think that not do a series, not, have it come back for 7 or 8 episodes. Do one big episode. See what everyone's up to, because, they've asked the characters what they think has happened to them. Lisa Kudrow would be married to Paul Rudd, so people would love to see that. You would love to see if Ross and Rachel, were still married, they were engaged at the end of the show. Did they get married? Do they have any more kids? To see how Monica and Chandler, raised the twins that they had at the end of the show. I'm spoiling Friends for you, but...
no, it's been a while.
No, this is fun. This
is where I stop and it's like, is it okay to say all this? Well, you've already said all of it. So
I think that would have been what people would have enjoyed more, as opposed to just, it was good to see them, but as bad, as horrible as Just Like That is, the Sex and the City reboot, I'm glued to it every single season because I have to watch it. It's so bad that I cannot stop watching it.
Who would have thought 2 times this week, just like that. Ended up making an appearance.
We
here
talked
in
about
the
team
Meltdown
trivia
Studios.
the other
And I
earlier
yelled
this
it
week.
this morning. I was
And she's
"Come
like,
on,
I don't know, just
Samantha."
know the questions depending on what they ask, if I get it right or not. I was like, there was literally a question about it just like that in Sex and the City that you would have wiped the floor with everybody in, so I think it'll be okay.
Oh, I cannot wait for team trivia. We've unveiled the teams slowly over the past week. It actually got broken during a fun Friday that a team trivia league was being set up. John, you will be with my cousin's dad.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. You'll be with Jeff, my brother-in-law,
Yes.
Jam and Jeff. You and him, huge Fast and Furious fans to the point where it's obnoxious. He showed me his office and it had Fast and the Furious stuff in there, and I was like, oh gosh, you really are like John. So,
And our team
y'all-
motto, doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or by a mile, winning is winning.
Whatever.
And we're still going to win team trivia.
You guys will have matching tattoos by the end of this. Tyler, you get the current world champion, and that may change after next Wednesday
Yep.
with the title match.
Tyler
of
lucked out.
John Lunsford versus Tim Lunsford, but you get Spud. How do you feel about your draw as a partner?
I just want to know what I did for you guys to give me the world champion on my team and
I just
actually
think y'all-
help me out.
It was the spilling of the Culver shake that, in my opinion, bonded you guys forever. And I thought, who are the 2 most different people on the line here of competitors? And I picked Tyler on one end and Spud on the other, and I said, perfect.
Sounds like it's saying Spud's the best, therefore Tyler is the worst.
No,
So we
I'm
put them
talking about
together.
tastes. I'm talking about life experiences. I'm talking about just difference of human beings. You know, that's where I'm going here, John. But if you want to try to get in his head early, we haven't even gotten to your championship match on Wednesday yet. And then Laurel, you and Rockstar worked together for years.
Yeah.
You know each other's strengths and weaknesses, I think. I think you guys could do some damage.
I just told him today, I was like, you're going to have to start learning on some things that have happened in the past 5 years because it's not going to cut it when you say you don't know, like, what song some popular song is. But I don't know the old stuff, so I feel like he'll be able to help me out on
I
that.
think you guys are going to be a great pairing in trivia, and it is going anything early 90s. I feel like
I think we'll be good at that.
you guys
I
are
said
just
that
going
now,
to
but we'll
destroy
see.
it.
We'll see.
Okay.
Speaking of more 90s stuff, we have a super chat about the Matthew Perry
Whoa.
topic.
Hold on. What?
Yep.
Yes.
James Stalling sent a super chat. Thank you so much, James. He says, fun fact, Perry's son wrestles in AEW.
James, thank you so much for the super chat. You have made history as our very first super chatter in the history of the Meltdown. That's awesome.
Does Matthew Perry have children?
Yes, he does. Jungle Jack Perry. That is the name of the... No, it's not. No. It's not Matthew Perry. It is the Perry that was on
Luke Perry.
Beverly Hills
Perry?
Luke
90210. Yes.
It
Yes.
is Luke Perry's
Luke
kid.
Perry.
I know
It's Luke Perry's
The
kid.
thing about Matthew Perry, one other thing that I always wondered why he always dated like a bunch of really famous, he never got married.
Yeah.
And he did not have any children. But if you read the book, he was in love with Jennifer Aniston for a long time.
Yes, he was.
And it is almost kind of uncomfortable reading about how in love with her he was.
He certainly was. And when they were cast, he just sort of let the enthusiasm of the job, it feels like, take himself over. But I'm working my way through it, and I'm really enjoying the read. We appreciate that super chat, James, very much. But yes, it was actually Jack Perry who caused the exit of CM Punk from AEW back
I've
in
heard
WWE.
that. I've heard that name
Again.
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
It was a debate over using real glass or not that had escalated behind the scenes at AEW to the point where before a big show in London, they decided that they were going to
he's the one you got in a fight with?
He's the one he got in a fight with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That was a big story. I mean, I heard about that.
I only
He's
paid
known as
attention to
Jungle
it.
Boy.
I only paid attention to it from Punk's standpoint. Punk got in a fight with some AEW guy. I don't know.
And then they released the surveillance video, and it backed up everything
Yeah.
Punk said, and it was a bad look for
It's
AEW.
Massive backfire.
Speaking of backfires, it's time to talk about Furiosa. And I'm talking about actual literal backfires because there's a lot of them in this movie.
A lot of engine backfires.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
you're,
talking
you're,
about
doing- you're also doing it on purpose.
Laurel. Do you see what I'm working with?
I see.
Tyler,
I
am I
see
right?
this. I
No, you're
understand.
right. You're right.
Thank you.
I'm talking about the actual engine backfires, which is why the term backfire exists in the first place, because of what happens with the vehicle.
So what'd you think of the movie?
I hated it. George Miller's Furiosa Mad Max saga has started off its North American box office run with $3.5 million in Thursday previews. The prequel to Mad Max Fury Road hopes to win the Memorial Day weekend with a haul of 40 to 45 million. Projections have been off every single week, so I don't know why they would not continue to be off here.
Not last week for me.
Not last week for you. But movie theater foot traffic right now certainly seems to be down for the year. So far, Furiosa is doing similarly to Fury Road, which earned 3.17 million in previews. Am I the only one that constantly wants to call Furiosa Fury Road? Am I the only one that wants to do that?
I do, because Fury Road,
by accident, slip of the tongue.
Fury Road is for like our generation, whereas the original Mad Max was for the generation before us. So we don't think, or at least I never think of those. When I think Mad Max, I think Fury Road. So I just call it Fury Road, like you would call, I don't call it Avengers Endgame, I call it Endgame. So same thing with Fury Road. So now that this one is just Furiosa, then a Mad Max saga afterwards. Like, you don't call it Solo, a Star Wars story or whatever. You just call it Solo. You just call it Rogue One, even though technically the title has that. So the same thing here. We say Fury, you just want to say Fury Road.
Laurel, I can go two paths here. I can either connect us throughout the entirety of the day by saying that we both didn't enjoy this movie experience. It's been spoiled for me that, I've heard that you were not a big fan of this movie experience, which I assume is correct information. Or I can go the second route and create a dividing line between us, saying that I still think this was better than The Strangers Chapter 1.
Oh, well, no. Because when we finished the movie, the very first words out of my mouth was, I never thought I longed for the Strangers
That's
Chapter
literally
1.
what she said the minute the movie was over.
Are you kidding? Like, I didn't hear that part.
No.
That was all
No.
just
She literally
coincidence.
said that.
No,
No.
I wanted to like this movie because I like her a lot.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
I love her.
She does not like Chris
I don't
Hemsworth.
like Chris Hemsworth. In this movie, Chris Hemsworth's character, I told John, I said, if this had been 15 years ago, Johnny Depp would have played this character. He had mannerisms like Jack Sparrow, and he looked like a mix between the Love Guru, that character that Mike Myers played.
The first time you see him,
The last Mike Myers role ever.
Not true, but
that's
yes.
not true. The first time you see
In a
him,
movie.
he has this white
Not
hood
true.
on and white robe
really?
on, and it's like, is that the Love Guru? Like, what?
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
It looks like
I just can't unsee it.
This is not what I'm thinking
I
of.
thought it was
but-
the Love Guru mixed with like some type of like Sacha Baron like Cohen character mixed with like Thor, and I was like, I don't like it. Like I wanted to, I just don't know why it exists. Like
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
I still give it 2.5 stars out of, or 3 out of.
Oh, that's the thing.
That's a 2.5 or
You
3?
came off way more positive in your out of the theater review than she did ever after the movie ended, and then it's like, well, Tim gave it a 1.5. What'd you give it? I give it a 2.5, and I was like, that's close to a thumbs up. I mean, you're just
I just hate it. Look, if you like this kind of stuff, you're gonna love this movie.
Well-
I'm not telling you not to go see it. It's not a garbage film.
Here's a perfect
No.
explanation.
I just
think,
hate
of
the
it.
IP.
Here's a perfect explanation of it. So my dad was there last night too, and so I said, "Do you remember anything that happened in the first one? Did you see the first one?" Yeah, I saw it when it came out, but I don't remember anything about it. But you know what? There's enough cars and explosions to keep me happy. And afterwards, guess what? He's like, there were enough cars and explosions to keep me happy. So if that's what you want, then go watch a movie like this.
Droning on, like that was the thing. Like
It's very repetitive.
It just like kept going, and I just had so many questions. Like, how did they remember? Did they remember that she was there? And it's just.
don't
I'm not going to spoil it, but I wish Tom Hardy had been in it. Maybe that would have been something. I don't know.
I don't know if that's a
another
spoiler,
Max.
but
Another Max may appear in there, so you never know. But
from the back.
it's the war. There's a war rig scene in here, and I've seen this in all kind of reviews for it, so I'm not necessarily spoiling anything, but that's a part of Fury Road is them taking the war rig and everything. And so there's one scene in this that's one of the best shot scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And that alone moves it up to 2.5, 3 stars.
We will have a spoiler review where Laurel and I will remain mostly silent, and John and Tyler will geek out over this film. You either love it or you do not, and I think that the dividing line has been made clear.
But here, Tyler, what's your favorite movie of the year so far?
Dune 2.
What's my favorite movie of the year so far?
Yours was Dune, isn't it?
Dune 2. What is this movie? It's a movie about a bunch of crazy people in the desert fighting over resources. That's literally what Dune is. So we have a
We get cars in this one.
yeah, we have a thing going on.
Great. Maybe y'all should be a tag team trivia team. Laurel, I actually was walking out of this going, like, I long for the days of Dune 2. That's what I was thinking when I was walking out, because that's a far superior product.
I longed for the shortness of The Strangers Chapter 1. Like, my legs were like falling asleep. Like,
The thing is, this movie's broken into chapters, and so we got to like chapter 3, and she's like, "There's another one." And it's like there's probably like 4 more.
And then it would like fade to black, and it's like, okay, it's over. Nope, it's not.
Yeah, it just keeps going and keeps going. But look, we go to the movies because we love going to the movies, and we root for the movies to be good. We don't go in wanting these things to suck. I didn't want to hate Civil War. I just happened to hate it. As in the chat, we have Napster Haven that says, loved Civil War. Well, good for you.
Good for you, Napster Haven.
That's my burner account. Hold on.
Go watch that review. The spiciest things have gotten here. And we did a Dune Part 2 spoiler review. It wasn't even nearly as spicy.
Hey-o.
The other big Memorial Day opener is Sony's The Garfield movie, which Tyler is booking a ticket for tonight. It earned a solid $1.9 million in Thursday previews, which is a great start for a family film because not a lot of families go out on that first Thursday night, but they do flock to the theater over the weekend. Garfield is tracking to open in the $30 to $35 million range. And this is a movie that is going to play better to younger audiences than the movie If did, for sure. That's going to hurt If Garfield is. Can Garfield overtake Furiosa this weekend? The projections say it's going to be Furiosa running away with it. What are your thoughts, Tyler? Obviously, you haven't seen Garfield, but just from a box office look, do you think Garfield can topple this prequel to Fury Road?
It's tough. Family movies always do really well, animated family movies. Plus, Furiosa is an R rating, so that already cuts out a large percentage of people who aren't allowed to go see it. I don't know. I can see Furiosa still being on top just because I don't see Garfield appealing to as wide of a range of kids as something like If or Kung Fu
have not
Panda.
been helpful either. The reviews to Garfield.
And If has had decent enough, like, yes, it's good. Yeah, you know. And that's good enough to at least get people on a holiday weekend to then say, hey, I'll go see that. So If is going to keep Garfield from being number one.
Make no mistake, If wanted the weekend that they chose so they could be close to this holiday weekend because they think that there's going to be plenty of families that are looking for something to do over the 3-day weekend, and they'll be coming in, maybe checking that film out. So I
don't know if that's the story they're looking for on a holiday, though. If. It's a little too sad.
It is definitely sad for sure.
It's not going to crush it, but it's enough of a, hey, you can still can take the kids movie that Garfield isn't going to crush it because of that.
We will have a full box office recap following the holiday weekend on Tuesday. I just hope we can talk about how things are trending upward for theaters. But I'm looking at the slate of films, and I just don't think that's going to be the narrative. We shall see for sure. All right, Laurel, it is now time for you to help us out with going to the Dune popcorn bucket.
Okay, I'm gonna
we
pick a good
need
one.
to pick another movie for our retro trailer reaction.
Two in a row.
Which we will film next week.
Come on, back to me.
Good luck, Laurel.
Back to me.
Our
All
next
right, this is
retro
gonna be a good
trailer
one, I bet.
reaction
Let's see.
is...
Oh,
Is it me?
yeah. Oh, brother, where art thou?
Yes.
Gosh. Okay. John, can you look up and
Classic.
see if that's streaming anywhere?
I shall.
I'm sure it is.
Did Tim Lunsford put these in the bucket, or what's going on here?
No, I did. This is the best Coen Brothers film,
I can't think.
and it is incredible. I don't know why there's random conversation about best John Goodman films. This is up there. I don't know if I'd say it's number one, but this is up there.
Should we include your dad in the filming of this retro trailer reaction? I feel like,
You'll be all about it, probably.
I feel like he's going to bring a level of enthusiasm. This is y'all's movie, right?
Yes. It says it's on Hulu. Let me actually log into Hulu.
It says Hulu, Amazon Prime for rental, and YouTube for rental.
Yeah, so I think it's on Hulu.
Okay. That is what we have. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? 2 weeks in a row for John Lunsford. It has been a Lunsford-heavy
making up for lost
couple
time.
of weeks. Tim Lunsford wins trivia. John Lunsford wins the Dune Popcorn Bucket. John Lunsford wins trivia. Now John and Tim Lunsford both win the Dune Popcorn Bucket. And now we have John and Tim Lunsford competing in trivia on Wednesday.
I don't know it's on Hulu, but you can see I'm halfway through watching another watching of it on my account.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just have to restart it and watch again.
Okay.
I mean, come on. I mean,
Work through it.
come on. I mean, it's a classic.
There we go. I want to. This is a perfect time to segue into our brand new segment. It's called Hot or Cold.
Hot. A Brother Where Art Thou.
However, if you feel super passionate and you can only utilize these, you can only utilize these when you feel super passionate. You can use Enfuego or Street Water sour cream. Okay.
All right.
But
Okay.
save those for when you really, really, really are invested. But mainly, it's called Hot or Cold. I'm going to give you some headline from the week that we have not yet discussed, and you tell me whether you're hot on it or cold on it. But first, I want to tell you one thing I was very cold on, and that was going to the dentist. But then I got to know about Dr. Jeff and Dr. Brian over on Grants Mill Road at Alabama Dental Associates. And one thing I love is they are very flexible with their office hours. That's one thing that got me in the door to visit their professional dental team that they've put together. They're open weekdays from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. On Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., which you're not going to find with a lot of dental practices. Then they're open Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are able to make it work with your schedule. If you need to find the best dentists in town, then I have found the solution, and I'm happy to share it with you. They not only have all the latest advancements in dental healthcare technology, but they also have the friendliest staff in town. If you're looking for that perfect dental team, reach out and try Alabama Dental Associates for yourself. They're accepting new patients now and can help you feel at ease about all of your dental procedures. For more information or to make an appointment, call them 205-956-8977 or visit alabamadental.com as they look forward to seeing you. Okay, John, you can get us back to that lovely elevator jazz.
I got to put some new music on here.
We are going with this. I'm going to start with Laurel.
Okay.
Are you hot or cold on the new Beetlejuice 2 trailer, which finds Michael Keaton, Jenna Ortega, and Winona Ryder battling wild new ghosts and demons that just came out yesterday?
Hot. I cannot wait to go see it. I think if the people that don't like it, you just don't like Tim Burton movies and you don't like the original because it looks exactly how. And the thing is, like, what you don't want a redoing of it. I think bringing him into this world, I think that's gonna be funny. I'm excited to see more Michael Keaton, especially because he said that he's loved doing this movie. They did all the practical effects. I think it looks like the old one. I know some people aren't going to like that. They're going to say it looks cheap, or they're going to say it doesn't look, like Mad Max, I guess. But
can you tell we hate that movie?
Hey, there was a scene in the trailer where they're getting chased by the worm, sandworm or whatever.
It's been a big year for worms.
Yeah,
Ride the worm.
I can't wait to see it. I think it looks like it's going to be fun. It comes out this fall, like a perfect fall movie. I can't wait.
Tyler, are you hot or cold on the new Beetlejuice 2 trailer?
In Fuego, this is my most anticipated movie of the year.
Oh, wow.
I knew Tyler
For
would
sure.
come with
He
me.
went in
I knew
Fuego.
it.
Wow.
This early.
Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't wait to see this movie.
Is this one, in your opinion, going to be a multiple timer? Do you think you will be seeing this one multiple times in the theater?
I'll be disappointed if I don't want to see it multiple times.
That'll be a true test. All right, John. The new Beetlejuice 2 trailer, hot or cold?
I'm going to go ahead and beat my wife to the punch. Well, you're still going to go see it. I'm cold. I don't.
But you loved the Broadway musical. You said it was a really
The Broadway
surprisingly
musical
good thing.
was great, but it was also very different from the movie. Like the base of the story of what ultimately the family and Beetlejuice are and accomplish is the same, but how they get there is way different. It was done really well, but part of the reason I think I liked it was because I don't really care for the original movie. Tim Burton, I can respect Tim Burton. I just don't really like Tim Burton stuff.
We have Smuff in the chat that says Tim Burton movies suck, and so does Beetlejuice. Smuff. Batman 1989. I could name more, but some of them may be in the popcorn bucket. Batman 1989. You cannot say it sucks, Smuff.
It's okay.
Come on.
I can respect it, just not my thing.
Talking about Batman 89? Mm-hmm. Gosh.
Among everything that he has done.
Now, I don't love Burton, but Batman 89 I will defend until the end. We have Boomer in the chat that says hot on this. We have Charles that says, looking at the trailer, it's cold for me. I don't think it's going to be good.
It looks to me from the trailer like what made the original Beetlejuice good and what worked with it with practical effects and everything, that it's like, let's go overboard with that to where there's a little too much and a little too campy and all for my liking, as opposed to, I mean, they did a lot of it, don't get me wrong, but it seems like, hey, let's turn it. It was at a 10. Let's turn it up to like a 15. And it's like, okay, you could have just kept it at like an 8 to a 10 instead.
Next hot or cold segment. John Lunce, we're going to start with you.
Hang on.
That's just me, Tyler.
Too campy. We watched a movie with a talking plant in it this week.
I said it has just the perfect amount of camp. It's at an 8 out of 10. But this looks like it's going to take it. And that's the original Beetlejuice was there too. But
it's going to be Michael Keaton doing like one-liners. I don't care. It's going to be.
I'm not trashing the original Beetlejuice for being that. I'm saying this looks like it's going to go overboard with it.
Okay.
The juice is loose. Okay.
Such a good line.
Sorry, it's perfect.
It's a
So
good line, but I don't. the way he talks in the original one, I don't like how he sounds in this one. And I know he's 30 years older or whatever, but like,
Okay.
it's just
We're going
Alright,
to try to
we're
get
gonna
through this
move
without
on.
violence today. Worst part is
let's talk about Joker. No, sorry.
we're shooting a Mad Max Furiosa review after this, and by then we will all have been rifted apart. John, hot or cold on this news headline? Jeffrey Wright has joined The Last of Us Season 2 at HBO. He will appear in the role of Isaac, whom he previously played in The Last of Us Part 2 video game. Are you hot or cold on Jeffrey Wright joining The Last of Us cast?
So in fuego, all the Streetwater sour cream in the world couldn't put me out. Because The Last of Us is incredible. He is incredible. Westworld was taken from me, so now I can get him in this instead.
So
on
love
Max.
this news. Did you
Love
already
it.
know about this before I brought it
I did
up?
not know about it.
I can actually see the joy like
Yes.
permeating through your veins
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Okay, he's trying to contain his excitement. He's more excited about that than he was, oh brother, where art thou, being pulled out of the Dune popcorn bucket. Tyler, hot or cold on Jeffrey Wright joining The Last of Us Season 2?
Still haven't seen The Last of Us. Been meaning to get around to it, but hot. I like Jeffrey Wright in pretty much everything he's in.
Laurel?
Hot. I'm excited. I love him. I loved American Fiction. I thought that was one of the best movies of last year, and I love Last of Us. I love Pedro. But I'm excited to see this. Yeah.
Excellent.
Until you get halfway through season 2.
Don't do it. No. Don't do it to me.
I feel like what that was right there was a peace offering of like, look, John, we can be on the same page
Look,
here.
the game has been out for like 10 years now.
Maybe they'll change.
Certain
I think
events
they
happen,
will.
but they did change some stuff in the first one, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
All right, Laurel, hot or cold on Lady Gaga currently working on her 7th album? She said, quote, I have written so many songs and I have produced so many songs. It's nothing like anything that I've ever made before. There's something really beautiful about knowing that you will be loved no matter what you do. Are you hot or cold on Lady Gaga's music career currently?
Can indifferent be one? I think
No, it's got to be hot or cold.
Cold.
Which way do you lean more towards?
cold. I think she's a better actress. I think she needs to focus on Joker. I don't. I loved her when she first came out. I was obsessed with her first album. I loved it, and then it just kind of teetered off for me. Like, I don't even remember her last single. Was it that one with Ariana Grande? That song.
Chromatica was her last album.
Would it not have been the Top Gun Maverick theme?
Yeah, I mean
But
that.
see, when I think of Top Gun Maverick, I think of that song when they're playing the volleyball.
Yeah.
Who was
Danger Zone? No.
no?
it was Playing with the Boys.
It was what's
in
that
the original
band?
One.
Oh,
Kenny Loggins. I don't know who did it in the new one when they were playing football.
I don't
It's-
remember.
Tyler, can you look it up? It's someone.
I'll
It's
look
a
it up.
famous. They're famous enough, but that's what I think of. I
See, I'm in the minority on Lady Gaga. I prefer Lady Gaga as the standard singer than I do as the big pop star. I liked her run with Tony Bennett very much. I like when she's stripped down to just her and a piano.
yeah.
Give me that version of Lady Gaga. I hate the theatrics.
I think she's going to be really pushing the theater, especially because she hasn't done anything in a while, and I feel like she's really going to be like trying to push it, and yeah.
Okay, we have to move on to Tyler. Tyler, hot or cold on Lady Gaga's music currently as she's developing her 7th album?
Cold. I'll listen to it at some point, but I'm not anticipating it.
John?
Also, is the song you were thinking of One Republic?
Yes.
I Ain't
One
Worried.
Republic,
I Ain't
yeah.
Worried by
Yeah.
Young
That's
Republic.
see, that's what I think of when I think of Top Gun.
I still think Kenny Loggins. I think Top Gun in general,
Yeah.
but then she had the credit song. I'm hot. I thought Chromatica was good. It's not as good as her old stuff was. The Fame was really, really good. I like
Fame
Born.
Monster,
I like
yeah.
Born This Way.
Monster.
Art Pop had a couple. Joanne was better. Chromatica was decent. She had some good collaborations with Ariana Grande, with Elton John on it. So I'm interested in her doing new music, but I do think of the two, she should move into focusing on acting as opposed to music. I'm in the middle of her pop and her just straight singing and like her Tony Bennett
Yep.
stuff that she did. I'm good with all of that, but I do like her pop stuff too.
Okay, let's go to this next. Hot or cold on this experience, John. Fans of The Incredibles can take a 3-hour tour of Edna Mode's Los Angeles Airbnb mansion and design custom supersuits. It all starts June 6th. However, they're doing some media availability to where they're spreading the word about this. And it is
Is this something they built to mimic it? So they did it strictly for this?
This is being done by Airbnb as a way to generate more experiences where you take a 3-hour tour, you go through. It's got tons of little things you can participate in. It's got Incredibles art all over the wall.
Up.
Yep.
I'm
They
sure
do
that's
these themed ones like every month. It looks like now.
I'm sure it's cool. I was probably Streetwater Sour Cream because I don't really care. The Incredibles is mid-tier for me when it comes to Pixar movies.
Part of the experience is you design your own super suit.
Until the end, and that moved from Streetwater Sour Cream to Cold, just because that would be kind of cool. But I'm not going to go on a 3-hour tour just to do whatever.
A 3-hour
That's what I
tour.
think of. I thought that's so negative.
Is it a full suit I can actually wear?
You get it 3 weeks after you go through the tour. It's delivered to you, but you pick out everything about it.
Around.
I just can't imagine myself walking around in spandex like that, so I'm still cold on it, but I mean, it's whatever.
Okay. Tyler, is this something that you find to be hot or cold?
Streetwater Sour Cream for me. I was
Oh, wow.
never a fan of The Incredibles. It's like it's one of the low tier Pixar movies for me.
For those that are new to the show, Streetwater Sour Cream is the worst thing that can be said about anything. I don't know how it even came up, but can you imagine eating sour cream with street water as the main ingredient? It would not be good. Reminds me of Little Shop of Horrors when they got all that street water. That's what it actually came from in my head. So there's just water all over the streets at all times, and it's always like murky.
Skid Row is like, yeah.
That's literally where it came from in my head. Laurel, hot or cold on this experience? Because I feel like you love experiences like this, right?
I do. I would do the Up House. Now, it does sound like I think with the Up House, they actually can have balloons that will lift you up into the sky, and people are like, this feels like this could go wrong.
Well, there goes my wife.
So many levels.
I've been worried about the children of America stumbling upon it while searching for if.
Yeah.
I've worried very much about children of America. Instead of finding up, they find us. And I feel like that would be...
What if you were in a house based on us?
No.
Just linked hands.
That
person
bad.
looks just like me, but they're wearing a red jumpsuit.
I'm just gonna say cold because if it was at Disney World, maybe that would be something that could be a fun resort, or like kind of like the lightsaber deal. Like that could be something fun to do, like picking out like a suit. But
I'm surprised they haven't done a legitimate Incredibles ride. Now, the Incredicoaster is an old coaster they turned into an Incredibles ride at Disneyland, but there's really nothing Incredibles themed.
No, for one of their big hits, there really isn't much there.
Speaking of houses, Laurel, Full House star Dave Coulier is co-creating and starring in a medical drama series titled Dr. Dave, in which he plays a beloved pediatrician who uses humor and compassion to care for his patients at a struggling Detroit hospital.
So it's Patch
Patch
Adams.
Adams was a TV
That's
show.
basically what Patch Adams with child patients. Are you hot or cold on the idea of this series, which is in development?
Okay, I'm gonna do a trivia question really quick. Do you know who he is the muse for in a very famous song?
Oh, it's Alanis Morissette,
Tyler
right?
knows.
Yeah.
You remind me. Did you know that that's who?
I did not know that.
That is who she is singing about. Is him. And you
and Rockstar are going to dominate in trivia.
you want to know. That's what it is. But I'm hot. I think it's time for him to make a comeback. I think he's tried a few times. I think he tried to have a Full House spinoff like about 10 or 15 years ago, and it didn't get picked up. So he's trying. So I'm going to say hot. I'll give it a go.
He appeared on Netflix's Fuller House and directed 5 episodes of that series. I didn't like Fuller House at all, and I really like Full House. Tyler, hot or cold on Dr. Dave?
Cold. Like, I might check it out. It sounds
Sounds like a
intriguing,
Streetwater Sour Cream to me.
but I really don't care.
Okay.
I'm cold. I honestly don't care.
All right. Well, good luck, Dave Coulier. We're rooting for you.
There's a great
out.
Patch Adams Family Guy
You're gonna
clip
come
to
up
show you.
like from poker one night, but that's just gonna be playing while I'm sleeping in the background.
That's the thing. Laurel will say I'm really gonna get into these shows, and I'll come up, and she'll have left the house, and it's still running in the TV on the TV in the bedroom.
Coulier currently hosts the podcast Full House Rewind, a rewatch podcast for the sitcom, which features behind-the-scenes stories and interviews with guests like Jodie Sweetin, who played Stephanie Tanner, and Candace Cameron Bure, who played DJ Tanner. Next one. John, a reboot of The Munsters is now in development, and it's titled 1313, a reference to the family's address on Mockingbird Lane. It's not currently set up at any network or on any streamer. It does not have a home, but a reboot is now in development of The Munsters. Are you hot or cold on this?
Cold. I honestly don't care. The Munsters. I never watched the Rob Zombie one that he did. Did anybody watch that?
I haven't seen it
Anybody?
yet.
I haven't
And I was actually looking
I
forward
refuse
to
to
it.
watch
Of
it.
all people, Tyler didn't even see the Rob Zombie version of it.
We're too like traumatized for Rob Zombie. Brad's gonna enter the chat any second now.
I just love how movies have been so bad this year for Tim. He's been like, but Rob Zombie's Halloween was even better than this. I don't care. Cold.
Tyler, hot or cold on the Munsters new television series?
Somewhat hot. I like the Munsters a lot, but this 1313 Mockingbird Lane series, I'm pretty sure has been in development hell for like 10, 15 years. So I still doubt we even see it.
That's actually a fair take to make. After the Munsters movie, it feels like it set back that IP by a generation. Laurel, hot or cold?
I'll say hot. I mean, I think it will get made eventually, and it'll be on for like 1 or 2 seasons, and then that'll be kind of like the original. Because I mean, the original.
I just realized the original was only for 2
Yeah.
seasons.
Because that was at the time of the Addams Family. That was like so popular, like having these shows.
It got so much replay through syndication that you felt like it went on forever.
Show was canceled due to a series low in face of Batman. Batman is what knocked it off.
And Grandpa Munster was like the main, because he used to host those. He played in character, and he would host like the old monster movies at like midnight on Saturdays. That's what I think a lot of people remember.
Next one of these are all going to be Netflix specific. So here we go. We're going to run through these. Laurel, Netflix's Leave the World Behind generated 121 million views in just over 3 weeks after premiering December 8th, 2023. This is information that's just coming out
From Zack Snyder.
It was the most watched title on Netflix globally in the second half of 2023. Were you hot or cold on Leave the World Behind? Do you remember that movie?
Yeah. Oh no, I remember it. I was hot on it, and then I watched it and was cold on it. I wanted to love it. There were a lot of really good parts in it. I think it would have made an excellent segue into A Quiet Place, or I think there's one scene in it that I think could have like segued perfectly into like an alien invasion movie that I think would have been perfect.
Or Civil War.
Or Civil War, or anything, instead of it just... But that girl got to watch Friends, though. I'll say that much.
I was going to bring that up as you
got
did.
it.
Hot or
Got
cold? Did you ever see Leave the World Behind, Tyler?
I did not.
So you were obviously cold on it from the get.
You didn't miss much. I was hot for the first 40 minutes.
It
and
looked,
then
it was
started turning
shot
cold.
like Us. Like there were so many scenes that were like bringing up us again. Like, when they're walking on the beach, like that shot from the top, like them on the beach is like verbatim. That's
Julia
it.
Roberts, Ethan Hawke, Mahershala Ali. It should have had the
I
makings
don't-
of being perfection. And
I don't know of a single person who loved that movie in my life.
And
almost everybody watched it.
Yeah.
because of the cast that was
It
in
is
it, and it was the dude
deemed
that
as a
did.
huge success because of that.
I don't remember his name, but there's a dude that did Mr. Robot too. So like the people behind it, the people in front of it, everything about it should have been perfect, and it should have been the perfect like, ooh, what's the twist of this going to be? And
It was half baked, is what it was.
M. Night Shyamalan would have done so much better.
it had to feel like that.
John, I already had this as a part of this. Knives Out 3 coming out in 2025 and is officially titled Wake Up Dead Man. Ryan Johnson said, quote, "I love everything about whodunits. We're going into production on the third one, and I'm very, very excited to share the title, which gives a little hint of where it's going." Are you hot or cold on the Knives Out series of movies now leading into its third one?
I'm hot because I liked Glass Onion better than Knives Out. I was not a fan of Knives Out. I like the cast, and I know the cast is essentially different minus Daniel Craig every time, but Daniel Craig has had something to do, so he's going all in on these now. And depending on who the cast is, I'll be even hotter. But right now I'm hot because Ryan Johnson, I like The Last Jedi. Most people didn't. I like Daniel Craig. I love the cast that he had in the last one, so if he even remotely matches that cast, I think it'll be great.
Tyler, hot or cold on Knives Out 3? Have you seen the other two?
I have not seen Knives Out nor Glass Onion, so I'm cold.
Laurel?
Hot. I hope it's like a good cast. Like I hope it's kind of gotten to be like White Lotus a little bit, where like each cast continues to get bigger and bigger. I hope there's a lot of like big name celebrities.
I did not love Glass Onion. Wanted to. I liked Knives Out more, but didn't love it. I thought it was fine. I know people in my life that absolutely adored Knives Out and thought it was the most genius thing ever, and I wonder if they're going to run this well dry. It certainly seems like that possibility exists. A reporter at Netflix's Atlas press junket got scolded by star Jennifer Lopez for asking about Ben Affleck divorce rumors. Lopez told him, quote, "You know better than that." Are you hot or cold on the famous marriage
Oh God.
of these two right now, Laurel Lunsford?
You know, when we said we wanted, like, there were certain couples that we want to get back together, it wasn't J-Lo and Ben. It wasn't Bennifer. We wanted Brad and Jen to get back together. I'm just one of those people that thinks, and this is probably going to be a hot thing to say, but I feel like the people that if you don't work one time, it's probably not going to work again. Like, I don't care how many years have passed, like the same problems, and it kind of seems like that's still there. I feel like he very much does not really like being in the private eye or public eye, and I feel like she loves being in the public eye. And I watched that god-awful movie that she made about her life and the documentary behind it, and his face when he walked in and saw all these people reading his personal letters and like all these notes that he had written her throughout the years, like I could tell he was not happy about it. And he was like, I cannot believe like this is being shared.
One of the best clips Laurel's ever showed me from all these relationships and everything is they're sitting there. I don't remember if it was from a documentary.
It was
or
from
what,
the documentary about the making of the movie.
And they're sitting on the couch. She's like going over the script with him, and him who, you know, he has
He's an Oscar winner.
He has done a lot of good stuff. He's an Oscar winner, and he leans over, and is like, I think you should change this line. And she's like, why would I change that line? I'm doing it this way. Like, she knows better than, I'm like, you do not know better than Ben Affleck. You can say whatever you want to. You don't know better than Ben Affleck when it comes to writing a good script for this. And it seems like it has been a flop because it seems like she is completely in control of it. So I don't see how that relationship has ever worked, but they're back together.
So you're cold on it
now.
as well?
If Laurel says anything but in Fuego, she's lying because she gives me an update on it every single day. So she's definitely into it, whether she's actually in love with the relationship or not. But
No, I
I'm
wish they
cold on
would
it.
work because it's a cute story. I mean, I loved them when they first got together, like years and years ago. And then I kind of thought Jennifer Gardner kind of seemed kind of boring for him because he kind of seems kind of wild. Like, just by looking at him, I thought J-Lo was more his speed. But hey, another fun trivia fact. He got Tom Brady got busted with Ben Affleck. He had some girl on his private plane, and she took her picture with all of Tom Brady's rings on. And Giselle was like, "What is this? Like, who is this person?" And that's also how Ben Affleck got busted. Another time.
We are going down the rabbit hole.
Okay,
John,
there you go.
This is called, what, a Friday for you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This is 9:30 a.m. What are you talking about?
So you're cold on Bennifer,
Yes.
and Tyler's over there going like, I could care less about any of this.
I don't think it would be possible for me to care less.
Okay, so Streetwater sour cream on it. Got it.
I long to be like Tyler, to not care about things.
Will
like
anybody
this.
in here watch Atlas over the weekend? Does it come out this weekend?
What is Atlas?
Yeah, what is
It's
that?
the Jennifer Lopez Netflix movie.
She's
It's
like
where-
an action star.
Yeah. I think it's
But
out
that
right
was a
now.
Chi-Chi.
I think it's out right
Okay.
now.
No. I watch her brother
being-
Were Art Thou every day to not have
No.
to watch
It's
that.
being absolutely
Please.
panned,
But
but
doesn't shock me.
she plays like a
How
sci-fi.
is she married to him and cannot get any roles? That's the other thing I thought. Like, how is this possible? It's
We
got to
should
be
have just done
something.
this one segment. That
Okay.
would have. No, I'm just
Hey.
saying that would have been good.
We were talking about The Strangers, I think, last week, and it's like, hey, at least they made an effort. And I was like, well, Geely made an effort, but it didn't mean it was any good.
I didn't think Geely
Jennifer
was,
Lopez and Ben
I didn't
Affleck.
think Geely
so
was
there you
that
go.
bad.
Boomer wants you to expound on your thoughts. I think it's probably a
Thank
joke
you,
there.
Boomer. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that Boomer is understanding what this is all about. No, I just, I wish that they would work, but I see it going in a wrong direction.
I'm going to do something here that makes both you and John angry. I'm going to talk about a legal drama by the name of Monsanto. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
This is a film that is being buzzed about as being an almost all-timer in the legal drama genre.
Okay.
It's being shot. It's been shopped around at Cannes, and Netflix has acquired it. It stars Glenn Powell,
Oh, God, I'm out.
Anthony Mackie, and Laura Dern. It's from director John Lee Hancock, who did The Blind Side and Saving Mr. Banks.
Oh, God.
Once that was good.
It's being buzzed about a lot here.
of
Just based
fiction's
on what
good.
I've told you, are you hot or cold on this property so far?
You lost me to Glenn Powell. Went straight to Streetwater Sour Cream.
Are you a big Glenn Powell fan?
Yes, he
I don't
is.
understand the hate that you guys give
It's
Glenn
not.
Powell.
It's just not us, though. It's other people. Like, he was on the cover of what magazine? Is it Vanity Fair or something?
It's just an
and the
overinflated-
comments under it.
Rise right now that doesn't need
I
to be
think it's
happening.
a great underdog story of him being able to rise to the top of the profession
They
by
also
working
said that
his tail off.
his personal mentor is now Tom Cruise, and does that mean he's a Scientologist now?
Yeah, he's
Like,
basically been in Scientology
what
now.
does
Which,
that mean?
I mean, in Hollywood doesn't shock you.
Glenn
to me.
Powell starts rocking that big medallion that Tom Cruise has got. You'll know what's up.
Glenn Powell's crushing it right now. He's one of the hottest names, if not the hottest male name in Hollywood.
Someone said he looked like a dentist once, and that's all I could think of.
Hey, now, you want fighting words, you start talking about dentists, we're going to brawl.
I'm saying it's very nice to have.
My dentist looks like Kyle Chandler and Dr. Brian.
Does he really?
He looks just like Kyle Chandler.
He does have that look. Laura literally showed me a tweet. It was this morning, I think, where she's like, it's a tweet of some girl like, where the hell did Glenn Powell even come from? And it's a picture of Bane staring down at him in the dark rises.
I shouldn't have brought this
from
up.
a lowly stockbroker to now.
Tyler, as a respecter of cinema, Monsanto, are you hot or cold on what you know so far?
Hot. You had me at legal drama around Monsanto.
And then lost you with Glenn Powell.
Well, no, I think Glenn Powell's like almost like a return to like the movie star look. He kind of has that swagger about him.
Yes. And he's a box office draw. He's bankable.
Please don't do that.
I mean, look at this.
Please.
That's awful.
The fourth one, he looks like Tommy Wiseau in the fourth one.
And the one, it looks like Andy Samberg.
He looks like Jim Carrey's Riddler in the third one.
He does. Oh my God.
Edward Nigma, is that his name?
Yes. Nigma! Okay. And then, Laurel, I know your Streetwater sour cream on this. All right, we move on to our next one. It is still Netflix. Laurel, my next guest needs no introduction with David Letterman has been renewed for a 5th season at Netflix. It will consist of a part of that season will consist of 2 episodes in which the former late night host interviews Miley Cyrus and Charles Barkley. Are you hot or cold on the way in which this lineup for season 5 of this show is trending?
And hot, I like both of them. I don't really care about David Letterman.
Have you tried the show?
I've tried. I just don't really care for him. I've never really cared for him, though. I always would, when I was younger, I mean, you're like a little kid, and it's like, oh, you get to stay up to 10:30, and I would always have Jay Leno on. But then I would stay up even later on Fridays, and I became obsessed with Conan. And
yes.
I would much prefer, because Conan's got an HBO Max show, I think, too, but we listen to his podcast. I wish that would just be like a nightly thing, just having him interviewing someone. I just love him.
You've erased the disdain we had for one another over Glenn Powell by replacing it with your love of Conan. You just completely Raiders of the Lost Ark it right there and changed those 2 out. And
now here comes the boulder.
No, the boulder is Tyler, I guess. Tyler, Charles Barkley and Miley Cyrus being a part of this guest lineup. Hot or cold on it?
I really don't care for Letterman, so I'm cold.
Okay. So far, this is a rousing headline.
I like Letterman. I very much liked him more than Leno.
Same.
My parents watched Letterman and are huge fans of him, went to go see him in New York and all that. So I watched Letterman because of that. The minute he announced this, his first guest was Barack Obama. And so I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I'll watch this. And then for whatever reason, I didn't. And then to start the next season, he did Kanye. And I thought, oh, this should be good. And for whatever reason, I didn't. Then he did one with Zach Galifianakis, and I was like, man, I really want to watch this. And for whatever reason, I didn't. Every time he starts his new season with somebody really, really good, I know they probably come out at the same time, but just like the first one they used to promote. Yeah. And every time I'm like, I really want to watch this, and something, shiny toy pulls me away. And I've yet to ever watch a single one of these. I really want to watch these.
They're good.
So I don't.
Try a couple of them out.
Well, Charles Barkley would be somebody to maybe pull me in and say, okay, I definitely.
Until you get pulled away by Atlas, starring Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, but not that. And not Hitman, starring what's his name. But there's a lot of really good ones, and I'm sitting there going through his guest list now. It's like, I want to watch that, I want to watch that, I want to watch that. I just got to actually make myself. Because the other thing is, when they're on late night, now you can, anybody that's on Fallon or anybody that's on Kimmel or Colbert or whoever, I can always just pull it up on YouTube and watch a 10-minute interview the next day. Like, these are like hour-long sit-downs with people where it's like it takes more of a commitment. It's not just watching that late-night interview, which you're so used to Letterman doing a lot of.
Oh, so hang on. I misunderstood. So this is more of a traditional hour-long interview and not late-night style format.
Yeah, it's like a half-hour to an hour-long sit-down with somebody, and then he intercuts the interview with going to their home and interviewing them there, or going to where they grew up, or going to their school, or
it's like a Diane Sawyer type thing.
Yeah, it's like a mixture, but I think it's really it's a little quirky, but it works, and it hits some deep notes at times. I really like it, and would recommend that David Letterman series on Netflix. And I hope, John, you'll get around to watching it. But
And almost every person he does is a huge person that he gets. It's not just like, hey, so-and-so's promoting a movie. It's like, I want to actually sit down and have a good conversation.
truth
with
is,
this person.
it's like
I'm changing my answer to hot now.
it's like a podcast. It feels like
Essentially.
a podcast that's filmed with.
It is his version of Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of the same style.
It's good. It's really good. I like it. He's not as. He'll ask questions during his interviews where I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a brilliant way to pivot to that question. But then there'll be this fire that's starting to build, and he'll just douse it with water and go to something else because you can tell he wants to get almost to that level of it being a perfect conversation, and then he just completely depletes it and pivots. And that's what frustrates me about the show. It's like, oh, ask one more question there that you got him. And, but he knows what he's doing, obviously. Season 3 of Bridgerton. Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to assign these to single people now because I got a couple more and I do want to get y'all's takes on these. We're going to go to Laurel for this one. Season 3 of Bridgerton hit 45.1 million views in its opening weekend on Netflix, which is being looked at as a rousing success. Everything on Netflix, I don't know if you know this, it's all a rousing success.
Just as
except for
Zack
Ripley.
Snyder.
Yes. Bridgerton. Are you hot or cold on that series right now?
Hot. I really liked this. I mean, it's not done yet because they did I think there was 4 episodes, and then there's going to be some in a few weeks. I think they're kind of getting towards the end. I mean, anytime you get to the 3rd or 4th season of these are based off books, but there's plenty of books. But most of the original people are leaving because they're all becoming big stars, except for Renee.
Richard Jean Page.
Because in Wicked,
who I still vote for as a Bond, but
I love that choice.
in Wicked, the guy who is what's the character's name you wanted to play in high school?
Fierro.
Fierro.
This is like when J-Lo read Ben Affleck's letters, and it's like, why are you doing that on camera? That's what this is like.
He's the brother off Bridgerton, so he's a big star. The girl, she's left now. She's doing lots of things, but I think it's good.
Jonathan Bailey.
Yes, Jonathan Bailey, and people love it. So
They seem to be eating it up for
Yep.
sure. John, I'm going to go to you on this one. Hot or cold on Steven Spielberg's next movie, written by his Jurassic Park and War of the Worlds scribe, David Koepp, that will open in theaters May 15th of 2026 from Universal Pictures. It's being heralded as Steven Spielberg getting back to big budget blockbuster form.
But is it sci-fi? Is it?
That's all we know, is that the date has been set for May 15th, 2026. Now, once again, hot or cold's always going to give you limited amounts of information. So just temperature
hot,
check here.
Anything Spielberg does, I'm hot on. And then if it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. As many things he does do for me, but
The telling thing is here, they want to basically kick off the summer season with this.
And hey, if you do it right, then great. Jurassic Park writer, cool. War of the Worlds writer, not so cool.
Hate that movie.
Not so cool. So that's what kills me is every time we go on the studio tour at Universal, they still have the whole set where a plane exploded.
we watched it at Horror Nights.
And it's like, why do you still have this here? Nobody cares about seeing a set piece from War of the Worlds. Clean this up and do something else with this set area. There's a lot of room right
I
here.
wonder if they've ever used it for anything else. Have they ever said?
I don't know. They just tease it as it was used for War of the Worlds because basically a plane crashes and everything kind of explodes all over like a field. But yeah, I mean, in general, Spielberg does something. I honestly don't care who's writing it. I'm probably going to at least pay attention to it and be interested in it.
So you're hot on it.
Hot.
Tyler, the Call of Duty franchise is expanding as Microsoft's Activision has revealed the new title. Guess what it is?
Black Ops 6.
Correct. Call of Duty Black
Had to be
Ops
Modern
6.
Warfare or Black Ops something.
Along with a teaser for the game. Are you hot or cold on the Call of Duty franchise?
I've gotten colder in years past. I'm not a fan of how they include all of the games into one app on your console now, and then there's tons of DLC, and it basically asks for your entire hard drive. I'm not a fan of that, but
I have a friend who's addicted, to back up your point, addicted to Call of Duty, loves Call of Duty. It is his jam. He doesn't really want to play anything else. So if I ever am able to convince him, hey, let's play something else, he goes, I don't have the space for it to even download what it is that you want me to download. I've got to now erase my, jetpack booster pack download that I had for Call of Duty or whatever, which is not a real thing.
And the thing is, if you can't just uninstall one piece of it with Call of Duty
So
because
frustrating.
then the entire thing crashes.
So tired of Call of Duty. Over it.
Yeah, that's awful. But I do think this game could be a return to form as long as they make it where you can at least also play Minecraft on that system if you want to play COD.
Wow. Yes, I agree. I actually thought you meant Minecraft during Call of Duty, and then I was thinking that would be an interesting game. But
That'd
then
be
I
wild.
know what you're saying now.
It's like, well, I'm in the gulag. I'm going to go mine some.
A couple of more here. Laurel, are you hot or cold on the Dexter prequel series that is now titled Dexter Original Sin? It will star Patrick Gibson as Dexter, Christian Slater as his adopted father, Harry, and Molly Brown as his sister, Deborah. The show is set in 1991, 15 years before the events of Dexter. It's basically young Sheldon, but Dexter.
I think it could be interesting. I'm gonna say I'm kind of cold on it, but I wasn't a huge Dexter fan. I think it's fine, but I mean, if it looks intriguing enough, it could be kind of spooky. We'll see.
I am going to John for this next one, and I don't think you've ever watched this series.
I never watched Dexter either, so.
The Nurse Jackie sequel series is now in development at Amazon Prime Video with original star Edie Falco set to return. It was first reported in 2023 that a Nurse Jackie follow-up was in the works at Showtime from Lionsgate Television, but the project has now moved to Amazon. Did you ever watch Nurse Jackie? Because it was one of my favorite series ever.
I mean, obviously, I liked Edie Falco on The Sopranos, and this was kind of her next thing. We talked about Courtney Cox moving on to Cougar Town. This was kind of her moving on, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I feel like at the same time, and moved on to Veep. I didn't watch any of those that I just mentioned. For some reason, the second thing, I was like, it's not going to be as good as The Sopranos. Not that it was trying to be The Sopranos at all, but just following her from one to the other, I didn't really care, so I don't really care. I'm cold.
I am in fuego on this. In fuego, for sure. All right, we're going to Tyler. Tyler, this will be your last solo one. Paul Bettany is officially returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Vision in a new Disney Plus series being eyed for a 2026 launch. I know you're not a big Disney Plus user. Star Trek Picard executive producer Terry Matalas will serve as showrunner. Are you excited? Hot or cold on Paul Bettany returning as Vision officially?
Hot if he returns to the movies, but I'm not going to sit through more
And I think
series.
I think you hit on a nerve right there with a lot of people. I think a lot of people are just tired of not knowing what the main track of Marvel currently is, and they want to get back to that, and they're hoping that maybe July gets them back on the main track.
All you got to do is watch the TV shows, and you're on track.
I'm just telling
Yeah,
you.
all you got to do is
watch everything.
get this service specifically to watch these shows. Watch the 5 or 6 different shows they've already put out, and then keep up with it along with the movies.
All you got to do
It's
is
no big deal.
get the only service that you can watch any Marvel thing on. I mean, just get Disney Plus and watch it.
John, come on, agree now. It's a tough challenge to get caught up if you have been out of
It's
the
a lot
loop
of content, but for something that has been good, I'm glad there's a lot of content
You've
for it.
watched
Not
it
all
all-
of it has been great.
You've
but,
watched it all as it's come out. Someone who's behind.
for the most part. I hadn't watched everything. I didn't watch this Marvel when it came out, but I caught up on it. There's one more I didn't watch when it came out, but I mean, for the most part, like a new season of Loki comes out, I'm jumping to watch it. There's never more than one at a time that's on. So
People have fallen off of
House
that
of the Dragon
train.
comes out. I'm gonna watch House of the Dragon when it comes out. I'm gonna watch a Marvel show when it comes out. I mean,
I
it's
wonder,
the same thing.
is Wanda going to come back? I mean, I don't have any interest unless
That's all
she's-
Laurel cares.
I do.
Got to at some point.
She's the only
She
one I
will come
care.
back.
I don't care about Vision if she's not there. Like I know that sounds
Maybe
bad,
not the
but-
specific version we know, but she will come back.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Olsen will be back. I'll say that.
All right, this is going to be the final one. Screenwriter Michael Leslie has been tapped by Marvel Studios to write the first X-Men movie since the mutant superhero franchise was acquired by Disney in its purchase of 21st Century Fox in 2019. But Tim, Deadpool and Wolverine is technically an X-Men movie. I understand that argument, but I'm talking about the first like solo X-Men team-up movie. This is really just, Deadpool and Wolverine. Literally, that's what it's called. So I don't want to hear that this is actually the first X-Men movie because it really isn't.
And there were X-Men in the Marvels too, but
Yeah. Leslie most recently wrote
you
the
had to go see
Hunger.
it to see that.
Well, I saw the
'Cause
post-credit.
Nobody did.
I saw the post-credit scene immediately leaked on Twitter and said, "Thank God I don't have to go see the movie."
You're not the only one.
Leslie most recently wrote the Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but also wrote 2016's Assassin's Creed movie, which was Streetwater Sour Cream. So, John, are you hot or cold on screenwriter Michael Leslie being tapped to write the first X-Men movie based on what you know about those projects?
You could have tapped Aaron Sorkin and J.J. Abrams and all them to do an X-Men movie, and I'd have been like, I'll go see it for completionist sake. But
you're tired of the X-Men?
I've never been giant on the X-Men. I mean, of all the superheroes, they're way down here. Some of the movies were good. I mean, for the most part, I liked all three of the original ones. I like First Class. I've liked most of the movies. Just the X-Men in general, I just don't really care about. Except Logan, and we're getting that on his own. I don't care. The Hunger Games prequel was really good. I never saw the Assassin's Creed movie because I only ever played the first game and fell out because I didn't really care about the game series. The idea is interesting enough, but the movie didn't seem like it was executed that well, and I didn't care to see it. So I honestly, if I could be in the middle, I would, but I'll go cold because of that.
Cold for John. I am hot on this. Tyler, where are you?
I'm hot, but the fact that you said the two movies that he wrote were The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, which I think is probably second best in the Hunger Games franchise. I really enjoyed it. But then Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender. So I don't know what
he
to
doesn't
expect
have
here.
a ton of projects associated with his name, but those are the two most high profile in my opinion. Laurel, hot or cold on the X-Men movie screenwriter being hired?
I'll say hot because I'm with Tyler. I really liked that Hunger Games prequel. I thought it was really, really good. Like it
was better than
if
the
it
last
had come
two.
out this year, it'd be one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was better than the last two, but not as good as the first two.
Yeah. Okay, that's going to do it for Hot or Cold. We appreciate everybody going through those headlines with us. We had a lot to catch up on after a day of tabletop games, a day of trivia, and a day of video games for sure. And I think that we were able to hit that note here for all of the weekend headlines that you need to know about. It's now time for Lunce's List. There are a lot of famous Chris's that are still producing a constant stream of work. Shout out to my boy Chris Wood. This weekend alone, we have two Chris's battling at the Memorial Day weekend box office. It's time to find out which Chris's make John's top 5 on this edition of Lunce's List.
What is this? What is this? Lunce's List, Lunce's List, oh. What is this? What is this? Lunce's List, Lunce's List, oh. Lunce's List to 5. Lunce's List to 5. Lunce's List to 5. Lunce's List to 5.
Okay, John, what was the subject that I gave you? I think it was Hollywood's 5 best Chris's.
The best Chris's in Hollywood. Now, let me preface this by saying, ask the question, can I use any that are deceased? You said no. Therefore, Chris Farley probably would have made the list. Is not going to make the list. Christopher Lee probably would have made the list. Not going to make the list. But let me preface this also by saying I don't think any of these would ever make my top 25 actors currently working. So this is not at all when you see number one, because you're all going to see number one and be like, it's not that they're the greatest actors, but there's been some quality movies from some Chris's overall. So I came up with 8 for this list. I mean, there's a ton of Chris's. I'm sure if I went through IMDb, I'd find a lot of Chris's, but of notable Chris's that when they are in a movie, you actually have said Chris a lot. I'm just going to get to the list.
Just
Doesn't
Chris
even
in your
sound like
list.
a real name anymore.
And it could be Chris or Christopher, too. I made sure
Yes.
to say, some people very much use Christopher. They're never really referred to as Chris, but that still counts.
You know who we're talking about. Okay, let's go to number 5
Chris
on
O'Donnell.
Lunce's list.
Oh, if it was Chris
Number
O'Donnell,
1.
that'd be a good one.
Ooh. Laurel, favorite Chris O'Donnell performance?
Oh man, see, I'm thinking of 2, but I think I would say Batman and Robin.
Oh, man. Batman Forever's in my opinion.
Wait, which one is Batman Forever?
That's the one where he's doing his laundry, the one that you like so much, that scene.
I'm getting confused. Is that the last? Is that
No, that's the one with Jim Carrey and
Okay, yeah, that one. No, that's the one I
Tommy
was
Lee
choosing.
We had this whole debate. I think I brought it up on the show. We had this whole debate. She didn't know what Robin's name was.
They never said it in the movie.
They're literally called the Flying Graysons, and I said that's
Dick
his
Grayson.
name.
They never
And
they never mention his name. It's
I
written
will
on
say Alfred every time calls him Master Grayson. He never actually says Dick Grayson in it. but their name, and I'm like, it says right there, the Flying Grayson, so clearly their name is Grayson. Anyway, she didn't believe me.
I got too bad.
And I watched the entire movie just to be like, for the love of God, say the name.
And they never did.
They never actually fully said the name, except for the credits where it's his name.
But he did flip that mop around with his foot good.
That was a bad scene.
I mean this with all respect.
Chris O'Donnell would not make the list.
Y'all have some of the weirdest movie arguments of all time. And I mean that with full respect, but I can actually see full-fledged arguments of this happening within y'all's house it being legitimate.
This was like a 2.5 hour argument because we argued for like 30 minutes beforehand and then watched the whole 2 hour movie to be like, it says Grayson right there.
But he never called him. I'm not supposed to pay attention to what's on. Okay,
now,
sorry.
are there other Robins? Yes. But that was the one that was in that.
Okay, this has nothing to do with Chris O'Donnell.
Number
but
5, Chris Hemsworth.
who we saw last night. Would he have still made your list even after not last night?
Last night didn't really change
It's being
anything.
heralded as his best performance ever. I didn't see it, but anyway.
I thought he was good in the movie. His best performance ever, to me, is the movie Rush. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rush.
I did not.
But he played James Hunt. It's him and Daniel Bruhl and Olivia Wilde is Chris Hemsworth's wife in it. It's a Ron Howard movie, incredible movie about Formula One, about the rivalry. It's a true story. Niki Lauda ends up getting a bad wreck and all burned up and everything. And they're rivals in Formula One. It's a really, really good movie. It's one of the best sports movies ever made, and it's my favorite Ron Howard movie, my favorite Chris Hemsworth movie. But that's one movie. But on top of that, Thor Ragnarok is arguably the best Marvel movie. It's the best solo Marvel movie to me, I think to you too, and I think to a lot of people.
I love Ragnarok. It's my best not team-up movie.
Yeah, it's
my
solo
favorite
superhero.
not team-up movie. Yeah.
But for me at least, he is not the problem in the Thor movies that aren't good. The movies are not good. Like The Dark World is looked at as arguably the worst one, regardless. Love and Thunder, I still have middle of the pack, but it's because Ragnarok was so good that it seems like it fell off a cliff compared to that. But he is not necessarily the problem. Now, he has done plenty of stinkers. When they relaunched Ghostbusters, the female version, and he came in and was supposed to be like the receptionist or whatever.
He was really good in Cabin in the Woods.
That was so goofy.
Tim, do you remember that?
I did not like that movie.
But do you remember him in it?
I do remember him in it.
He was playing a teenager, I think.
Him in that Bad Times at the El Royale, where he played a very kind of similar sort of
and
crazy man.
The comedy. What was the one that he did with the Chevy Chase movies? Vacation.
He was in Vacation, the Vacation reboot, which was
in
bad.
Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah, that's where I started, was that, because I feel like that's a big franchise that he didn't ruin it. He wasn't a main character in it. But then I was super excited for, hey, they're going to do a Men in Black movie with him and Tessa Thompson, who both were massive parts of Thor Ragnarok being so good, and Tessa Thompson, who had come off being with another Hemsworth in Westworld with his brother Luke. And so it's like, oh man, I'm so excited for this, and it was awful.
The thing looked awful.
And
from
so it was.
How do you do that without Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones and make it work? I don't think you can. But anyway,
I don't know about that. This one didn't work. It wasn't it. Now, I will say character-wise, I liked his character last night, and it'd probably be a top 5 performance for me for him, just counting Thor all as one. But for me, it's Thor and Rush are enough for him to make the list, and so he comes in number 5. But he's had plenty of things. Oh, Snow White and the Huntsman. The idea behind that, Kristen Stewart being the main character, Charlize Theron was in it, and he was the huntsman, and I thought that had potential, and it was kind of a flop too. So even though they did a sequel, and I don't think it did very well. But Luke, the best Hemsworth, because I loved him at Westworld.
So at number 5, Chris Hemsworth. Why did his other brother Liam not work out with Miley Cyrus? Why did that not work out?
Well, if you listen to her music, I think what he was doing was they had, their house burned down, in Malibu. And while that was going on, he was taking, because I think she might have been the breadwinner of that family. She had another condo.
Yes. I saw Independence Day regurgitants, and I can tell you that is probably the case.
I think he was taking different ladies, lots of them, over to her place that she owned and was having.
If it wasn't for Hunger Games, I mean, I wouldn't even know he had that brother.
He's the new Witcher, right? Isn't that what he's?
Yes.
Yeah.
He just got cast.
He's got that blonde hair. It looks awful.
I only watched the first couple episodes with Henry Cavill, and I didn't really care for that. So,
did you just catch a stray?
I was waiting for him to jump in and be like, Cavill? Yeah. No, but
Henry Cavill would be a better backup than what they went with Liam Hemsworth probably for this role.
Only because of my obsession for Westworld, I'd rank them Luke, Chris, Liam for the brothers. But
Let's go to. We could just do a best Hemsworth list, I guess.
And Luke played Thor in the play version.
Yes, that's
with Matt Damon and everything, which is hysterical.
So funny.
So between him, Matt Damon, Sam Neill, all the ones that played in that, Melissa McCarthy, that's some of the best parts of the Thor movie.
It really is. Let's go to number 4 on Lunce's list. Best Chris's currently in Hollywood that are in the acting profession. At number 4, Chris
Tucker.
Tucker. You've talked about your love of Chris Tucker before, obviously in the Rush Hour movies, obviously in Air, one of your favorite movies here recently.
And one of my favorite movies of all time, The Fifth Element, was incredible in that. Now, I have not seen Friday, which I feel like a lot of people put up there as one of his better ones too. But outside of that, just The Fifth Element, the Rush Hour franchise, which I feel like they've been working on a fourth one for a long time, but it's still technically in development. And then Air last year, kind of making a comeback last year, really, really good in that one as
Silver
well.
Linings Playbook.
Was the Silver Linings Playbook too? That I finally watched that for the first time a few months ago, and it was overrated. It wasn't bad, but it was overrated, I think.
You think we're going to get more Chris Tucker?
I hope Air was the chance for him to do more. I don't know. Maybe it'll take another Ben Affleck, Matt Damon team up to finally give him something, but he was not originally in that movie, and then they wrote, I mean, it's a real person they play, but they wrote him in to the movie and specifically went after him to bring him in. So I'm glad that happened.
Did he not know the person that he was performing as in that movie? I feel like he knew that person, which is why it was an extra special sort of casting. Am I right or wrong about that?
I don't know about that. I want to say somebody else. He didn't necessarily know that character. Maybe he knew somebody else within the story that then was like, oh, hey, Chris would be a perfect person. There is some kind of like, there's a reason why it happened. And so Ben Affleck wrote him in and ended up making it happen.
Troy in the chat says, have y'all seen The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare? I know Tyler has.
I just responded to him, but in case you don't see it, I'll go ahead and say it. It is a solid movie if you like historical fiction and over-the-top action. It is a lot of fun.
Where's it ranked for you, like top of the pack, middle of the pack, back of the pack this year in your favorite movies list?
Middle of the pack. I think it's top 15 in my list
That's
of the
pretty
year
high.
so
You've
far.
seen a lot of movies.
Yeah, it's sitting right around number 12, I think.
Excellent. Okay, let's go to number 3 on Lunce's list. Best Chris's, according to John Lunsford. Favorite Chris's. Chris Hemsworth, number 5. Chris Tucker, number 4. Chris
Pine.
At number 3. This is high for Chris Pine.
I highly recommend, before I say anything else about Chris Pine, that he's done a lot of good and bad. I highly recommend everybody watch Dungeons and Dragons from last year if you have not.
It was good.
It's one of the most underrated movies of the last 10, 15, 20 years because it did not do great financially. I think ultimately it ended up taking a loss financially. It was very, very, very good. Very, very, very funny. And he was definitely the lead, kind of making it all happen. I highly recommend that. I really liked all the Star Trek films for the most part. I think he did good as Captain Kirk. First Wonder Woman was good. Now, if you want to go to stinkers, Wonder Woman 84, not so much. I liked Horrible Bosses too. Not as good as the first, but I liked it as well. And he was the Peter Parker that got murdered in Into the Spider-Verse. So he's technically a part of one of my favorite movies of all time. He's the one, remember at the beginning when Miles Morales gets his powers and he goes and he's fighting Green Goblin and Kingpin and all that and ends up getting murdered. So
did you bring up Hell or High Water? Because Jody's bringing that up in the chat.
Which Hell or High Water was...
That's a good movie.
Mid-range for me. It was fine. It wasn't anything wrong with it. It just... I think what hurt Hell or High Water for me was we went to go see it at the drive-thru. We saw that and Deepwater Horizon back-to-back, and it was not a great...
A lot of oil.
I'm not a big drive-thru person. So
the thing I remember when I think about Chris Pine is one, and Don't Worry, Darling. He's like the villain.
Don't Worry, Darling is a very mid-range movie for him too.
The thing I think
he was
about
good at
when
it.
I think about Chris Pine, there's an interview and it's on YouTube, and he was in a movie with Tom Hardy, which Mad Max, and my favorite, Reese Witherspoon. And it is not a very good movie, but they were doing you know how they do those little Q&As, and they asked him, the interviewer said, who would you rather like date? And it was, or like, which character do you like more? And it was like Elle Woods, and then it was Tracy Flick, which are two of her biggest roles. And Chris Pine proceeds to say he doesn't know who any of these people are. And Tom Hardy is looking at him like, those are two of her most like famous characters, like in movies. He's like, I've never heard of this. And Tom Hardy's just like,
He wasn't bad in Don't Worry, Darling. Have you seen that yet?
No, and I'm not going to.
No,
It's
Tim.
It's not awful. The writing in it's
It's a
not
social
great.
media movie is what it is.
It is. The writing in it's not great. I mean, Harry Styles is good in it. Florence Pugh is good in pretty much everything she does. Chris Pine is good in it. There's a lot of good acting in it, but that's pretty much where it stops.
It's pretty.
And I mean, yeah, and the aesthetic of it's cool and everything. But the most entertaining part of that was the press tour outside of it with Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde, and there's a whole thing where Harry Styles spits on Chris Pine supposedly when I don't remember if it was at Cannes or if it was it's some kind of film festival that they came out.
That's when no one talked to each other.
That was the best acting Chris Pine did of the whole thing was when they were fighting back and forth. And you don't know what's real and what's not real. Anyway,
Didn't work for the box office results necessarily.
It didn't, and the movie didn't really deliver. Also, I feel like a movie that had so much put into it, and a lot of hype behind it, was A Wrinkle in Time, and it was so disappointing for being a good book, a story everybody knows. The movie absolutely flopped, and him being the dad in that was, oof. So he has plenty of stinkers, but he has a lot of good. Captain Kirk in general is kind of what puts him up, but Dungeons & Dragons really moved him up. That was a really, really good movie, and I hope they make more, and I hope the word of mouth of it after the fact, even though it didn't do great box office-wise, helps it to potentially get another one.
We should do a movie about our careers called Hell or High Streetwater Sour Cream. That's what we should do. We should make that movie.
There's a lot of both of that.
There's a lot of both of that. Well, let's go to number 2 on Lunce's list, counting down those top 5 Chris's, according to John Lunsford. We appreciate everybody in the chat today. You're getting a lot of love for the Chris Pine pick, whether it's Star Trek that he was in or Dungeons and Dragons that's getting loved on. You know, I kind of predicted this one. Christopher Walken at number 2, one of the stars of Batman Returns.
Still doing things, was in Dune 2 this year, although honestly, he could have put anybody in that role. It still probably would have been okay, but it's another name to add to an already
That
giant.
was a wild swing to put him in that role.
It was. And, I mean, he was good in it, but it's not like such a pivotal, like always on screen kind of role that you could have put a lot of people in there. But of a giant ensemble cast, why not throw somebody like Christopher Walken in there?
I could only see him as Christopher Walken, though. I couldn't see him as he was the Emperor, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Batman Returns. Wayne's World 2. Good in Wayne's World 2.
Fat Boy Slim Video.
That's what I was just thinking
that
about,
was a
Tim.
good one.
Did I ruin that?
You ruined that. I was going to say Sleepy Hollow. That's one of the first movies that really scared me, was Sleepy Hollow. Catch Me If You Can, really solid film. And, of course, the best film on his filmography, Wedding Crashers. But the best thing he's ever done, though, is the Fatboy Slim Weapon of Choice video.
Which is just a perfect way to walk across the sand in the Dune universe.
That is right.
It's the exact same
Hey,
way.
if you can fly like you did in that, then you don't have to walk on anything.
Yeah, that's probably why I got cast in that.
Have you seen The Deer Hunter?
I have not seen The Deer Hunter.
That's what
That
you
is
need to
one of those I need to put on the list.
Be in the right
Definitely
mindset
go
for
check
that
it out.
one.
Yes.
But yeah, you gotta prepare yourself for that one.
Yes. But yeah, Christopher Walken, always classic. And, SNL, plenty of notable things. He's on TV as well.
Any other honorable mentions before we get to number 1? I know you did a number of them off the top.
I did. Christopher Lloyd, I left off, but Back to the Future, Addams Family, Angels in the Outfield. I mean, Back to the Future is enough. But
I do the worst Christopher Lloyd Doc Brown impression. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Sure.
Marty, it's your parents, Marty. Get in the car. That was it.
It started off okay, and it's a lot better than a lot of your other impressions, so I'll say that.
That's better. I think it's my
No,
worst impression I do.
I could see it. I could see it.
Marty, it's your parents, Marty. Get in the car.
It kind of has like a little Italian to it.
Get in the car kind of gets to Christopher Walken at the end a little bit, but
Marty, it's your parents, Marty. Get in the car.
sure. But also kind of keeping with the Back to the
Get
Future
in
hate that I supposedly
the
have.
car.
I'll put him at number 6.
Okay.
Chris Rock, I've said I'm not a big stand-up person. As an actor, some like good bit roles that I really like. I think he's hilarious in Beverly Hills Ninja. That's like a random small role that with another Chris. I like him at Dogma. Somewhat smaller role in that one. Does decent voice work. I think obviously it's a very distinctive voice. But works well with Adam Sandler. There's a lot of good with Chris Rock, but overall not enough to make the list.
Hated Spiral.
And then, which of course I would never watch. And then Chris Evans, not going to make the list. Captain America's fine. And he obviously is very integral to that franchise, and it is what he made that role. I just don't care about Captain America compared to so many other superheroes in there. And that's probably very un-American of me to say. But I didn't like him in Knives Out. I haven't liked him in hardly anything. Didn't care for him as a Human Torch. But, he's Captain America. So I feel like I got to put an honorable mention in there for him.
Let's go to number one
Really
on Lunce's list.
One left. Oh, my honorable number one, too. I was going to do this, but I thought you'd get mad at me. Honorable number one, John Christopher Reilly.
See, I thought you were actually going to go another route, and I'll tell you what it is after you write number one to see
But
if
the
I
C, John C. See, he actually goes by John C. Reilly. It's like,
work.
that's Chris. If I can use Christopher, I can use C, right?
Go up to the board. I would have been angry, yes. I would have been very angry. I know, but I'm going to be angry if you've...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Number one.
Okay.
Star-Lord.
I was worried during this that you were going to go at some point Christian Bale. And you were going to say, he's got Chris in his name,
I
so
thought
it should count.
you were going to say Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz, I guess, would have counted with the Christopher. I asked Christopher specifically for Christopher Walken, Christopher Lloyd.
Nobody calls him Chris Waltz. Nobody calls my guy Chris Bale. So I think it works. People do call him Chris Walken. They do. So
Yeah, I've heard that before.
yeah, I've heard that. Chris Pratt at number one.
I've heard Chris Lloyd before, too. But Chris Pratt, number one. Now, is Chris Pratt the greatest actor ever? Not even close. Is he a good voiceover artist? Hell no. Is he even really good in
This
any
is the weirdest number one I've ever heard.
Is he even really good in any regard? Sometimes. But by far, he has the best filmography that I want to go see. He's easily the most bankable Chris that's out there right now, which is why he's in every single film known to man.
Is he the Chris you want to hang out with the most on this list? Because he seems like a super cool hangout guy.
Probably.
Does.
I could probably hang out with Chris Hemsworth, Chris Tucker. I wouldn't want to hang out with Chris Pine
He
at all.
seems like he'd be cool. I'd rather hang out with Chris Tucker, though. I think that'd be more fun.
I would not want to hang out with Chris Pine, and I don't know what Christopher Walken and I would talk about, but like, just being honest.
I would just
see
listen to
Christopher
him
Walken
talk.
sitting there the whole time, like,
hey, you want to play Mario Kart? What's a Mario Kart? Anyway,
wow, that sounded like Chris Pratt doing the Mario voice.
Yes, that's what it was.
That did not sound like Christopher Walken.
Oh, can't wait for Garfield.
Chris Pratt.
You on your impression high horse.
I said he was a good impression. Guardians. So if we're going to talk about the best movies, I would put Guardians ahead of even Thor Ragnarok.
Jennifer's Body.
Sure. Obviously, I have not watched that one. Jurassic World. Zero Dark 30. Her. We just talked about Her. He's in Her. Wanted. I really like Wanted. Moneyball. One of the best sports films ever. Mario.
Bride Wars.
The Lego movie.
Did you say Zero Dark 30 already?
Zero Dark
You
30,
did?
I said.
Okay.
The last movie I saw before COVID hit, Onward. I really liked that one.
I didn't
cute.
think, was it, gosh.
And of course, on top of all those are just movies, Parks and Rec, obviously as well.
What was the name of the movie he did where it's basically Starship Troopers on
Tomorrow
Amazon?
War.
The Tomorrow War. Did you already say that one?
No,
It wasn't that bad.
I've watched like the first half of it. I didn't hate it, but I watched super late at night, and I said I'll finish this tomorrow, and then never got back to it.
It wasn't that bad.
It was what I'd watched was fine. But yeah, all those movies, and then of course Parks and Rec on TV. I mean, it's hard to beat the filmography that Chris
And his
Pratt has.
father-in-law is Arnold.
And his father-in-law is Arnold, which I'm not going to get. You talk about we have weird movie arguments. Laura and I have argued Chris Pratt versus Arnold Schwarzenegger, which may sound like a really dumb argument on the surface, but we have argued that not since they're related now. We've argued that nonstop in our household. That's an ongoing debate in our house. I'm not going to say who's on what side, but we've argued that a lot in our
Chris
house.
Pratt versus Arnold in what way?
Like how people are going to know them.
Bigger star.
Like of all time.
Bigger star, Chris Pratt or Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Just depends on how you categorize what that
And that
means.
is obviously where we're coming from. We're categorizing that in different ways. Kind of like a Four Downs question. You ask that question. Depending on how you look at it, you're like, that's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. But you start arguing the other way, and it's like, oh, you kind of
At any point, has Chris Pratt been the biggest star on the planet?
Yes.
You think so?
With Guardians and Jurassic World at the same time?
You think he was the biggest star on the planet?
I don't know.
Because Arnold has
Arnold's
been.
I'd say Chris Pratt has been.
See, Arnold's
Arnold
Terminator.
stayed
Like
there,
that's what
too,
people
for
are
a
going to
while.
say.
Okay, clearly I'm on the Chris Pratt side. I'm not.
You just had him as number one. What did you expect for us to think?
It's because it's not Chris Schwarzenegger.
I'm not going to tell you which side I'm on. Pratt over your shoulder with a number one behind it.
It's not Chris Schwarzenegger. I couldn't have put him on the list.
Goodness sakes,
I
John. Subtlety
This
is
was
not
best-
your forte.
If this is best Chris's or Arnold's, then who knows what it would
Speaking
be.
of not being subtle, if you want to go from looking like Andy Dwyer to
God.
Star-Lord, then maybe you should visit Way to Wellness. John, they're a great group there, and I think that's an all-time top 10 transition that I just did.
Better body transformation, Arnold, Chris Pratt, or us with Way to Wellness. Me, Tim, Jim Dunaway, my dad.
We are in a distant third, I'm going to tell you that.
We've all done great with Way to Wellness so far. We're still working on it. See us weighing in right there as those pounds are dropping off. Go to aplanforme.com and you can learn more about everything with our friends at Way to Wellness. As you see Tim right there getting his blood pressure checked and me getting my blood pressure checked, and they do a great job keeping us on the right track. You too can be on the right track and get that plan as well. Go to aplanforme.com. Learn more about Leslie and her whole board certified team at Way to Wellness.
By the way, at number 5, you had Chris Hemsworth. He is one of the stars of Furiosa. We're going to have a spoiler review for you to enjoy. Over the course of the weekend, Robert Downey Jr. praised Chris Hemsworth this week as a true legend while receiving his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Chris Hemsworth, that is. Robert Downey Jr. said, quote, "Beyond the cape and the hammer is a contagious Aussie charm. He's a remarkable human being. He has true wit and depth of soul, and it has been my sincere pleasure to know you. You keep us Hollywood folk on our toes because you're just a real deal." He also roasted Hemsworth a little bit by asking the Avengers cast to describe Hemsworth in 3 words. Scarlett Johansson called Hemsworth, quote, "sensitive leading lady," while Chris Evans called him Hollywood's, quote, "second best Chris." Not according to Lunce's list. You have him as Hollywood's 5th best, and then you have
He's the second best of the ones in the Marvel
no
universe.
Chris Evans at all. So
He's the second best of the one in the Marvel universe and still ahead of Chris Evans because it ain't him.
I'm trying to think of any other Chris's that should have been on here, maybe. I don't know.
I very well could have forgotten.
You've
one, I
almost
don't know.
gone through every one of them that I can think of, for sure.
Christopher Abbott, isn't he like a big deal?
He was in Poor Things. I don't.
Someone
He's
brought
a
up
Wolfman.
please don't put Chris Kattan on the list, which I don't think
Oh.
you did.
I mean,
I'm
I like
triggered.
Chris Kattan on SNL, but that's about it.
Triggered. I can't.
Did you have an experience with Chris
Well,
Kattan?
I mean, not like a really a bad one, but he was on.
He was on the round table.
Yeah, he was, and
It's one of the worst interviews
he
ever.
did an interview, and to me, he was very nice. Like he was like super cool. But when he got in there, they asked him about SNL, and he like freaked out and did not want to talk about SNL, and he did not want to talk about A Night at the Roxbury. And it's like, well, what are we going to talk about for the next?
What else do you talk to Chris Kattan about?
What was the name of that character he played where he was sort of a pet detective or whatever? Or, you know what I'm talking
was
about?
it Corky
Corky
Romano?
Romano.
Corky Romano.
I was trying to think. I was like, what was that movie?
It was like an Ace Ventura type vehicle, it felt like to me.
Yeah. He was like in the mob and he tried to be a veterinarian, something like that.
This is the last topic I want to bring up today on today's show, and it's going to be brief. I promise you that. But I want to get into this because you just reminded me that I've wanted to talk about this for a while. What is it, Laurel, about either bands or maybe movie stars or television stars that don't want to talk about the thing that made them famous? Like they don't want to perform the song that made them famous. They don't want to perform the song that everybody actually paid
I'm
the
gonna
ticket to see.
you one better and think that and between this and people saying that they don't want to be famous and they don't want to the
didn't
thing that
ask
they're
for this.
promoting to be successful, because several people, including After Sun, what's his name, Paul Mescal. And Taylor Swift's ex, Joe Alwyn, who they like to say, I hope that something's not successful because I don't like to be famous. If I was a director or someone's hearing this, you're saying you don't want to be successful? You don't.
I'll go one further. That and people trashing the thing that made them famous in the first place, saying it ruined them. Like, I hate John Boyega trashing Star Wars because it's like nobody would know anything about you or who you are if it
That's
wasn't
the
for that.
deal he signed. He should have known from the get. When I sign on to this property, I will forever be known as a Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
And I should be okay with that. But then he tried to do other things, and he started to get a little bit greedy, it feels like, of wanting to be known as a serious thespian. And when everyone was like, Finn, he would just be like, "Oh my god!"
You'd have been a serious thespian under the
I
bridge
guess
if you
maybe
hadn't done Star Wars.
it depends on how your career like shakes out. But people like Sarah Jessica Parker, like they love like when people are like, I love Carrie, and she's like, oh, I mean, she's done a million other things. She's been on Broadway, she's been in movies. I mean, that's probably is one of her most recognizable things. But she's like, I love it when people come up and tell me this. Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, like, oh, we love it when people come up and say, oh, that they're like, oh, do you think Ross and Rachel are still together? And she's like, absolutely. She's like, I kind of have this storyline. And then you have people who are like, don't ever bring it up. Like, I'm not that. Especially the Disney Channel people, they hate it.
See, that's my thing
Disney
about.
Channel
That's why I brought
people-
up John Boyega, and I say the same thing about Disney Channel people. You're not trashing Star Wars. You're trashing Disney. And Disney holds a lot of the cards at the table to where you don't want to be trashing Disney and
Let's just
burn
say
that bridge.
there was a TV show on many moons ago that had Zendaya on it, and it was called "Gotta Kick It Up," and she was on with
Shake
Bella
It Up.
Gotta shake it up. Oh, Tyler got me.
I remember that show.
Just use Tyler as a helpful lifeline. That's 1 point for you, Laurel. Congratulations.
Thank you, Tyler.
No problem.
Gotta Kick It Up was a Disney
Gotta Shake It
Channel
Up.
original movie with America Ferrera. But on this show, it was her and Zendaya and Bella Thorne. And Bella Thorne trashed Disney a little bit. And let's see whose career has gone
Yeah, that's not even
further.
close.
Well, Bella Thorne's been getting trashed lately.
Well, she's on OnlyFans, right?
Yes.
Tyler, do you know?
There were a lot of people who were angry about it. Yeah, I don't know,
I know
why you
because
phrased it like that.
Laurel's brought it up many times to me. They're like, Bella Thorne's done this. It's like, okay.
She
She's
was
living.
she was in the short-lived Scream TV show.
She
that was on
She
MTV.
was with the bad mask. Yeah.
Yep.
Wasn't it like metal or something?
It was like gold. Yeah.
Okay, well, that
Whoa.
went a bunch of different places, and I can't wait to have more conversations about that. I've just always been so intrigued by those that try to run away from their past, even though the thing that made them famous, that everybody loves, is the reason why maybe they're able to get that next project and that next project and that next project, but they seem to just live in a constant state of wanting to never hear whatever song that is or perform whatever song that is, or if there's a demand for, oh my gosh, I can't believe they didn't play their biggest song, that they're like, yeah, of course I didn't play it because I'm so sick and tired of it. It's been haunting me my whole career. It's a weird relationship to
Third Eye
have.
Blind
there.
is one of the worst at that.
It's like play
Third Eye
Semi-Charmed
Blind won't
Live.
play anything from their
We
original
want it.
album, and it's the only album people actually care about.
It's pretentious and I hate it, and it's a big giant ripoff to all those that consider themselves fans. All right, John. One place to have a lot of fun this weekend. There's a lot of time on our hands and a lot of time to visit our title sponsor. That's MyBookie.
Go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round. You see it right there in the bottom corner, right next to Eddie. Had to say Eddie just to get him on the show. MyBookie.ag. Promo code next round. Get that first deposit bonus on us. You can play at the Sportsbook, NBA playoffs. Game 2 tonight, correct? Mavericks and Timberwolves.
Yes, Game 2. Mavs are up 1-0 in this series after stealing home court advantage in Game 1 on Wednesday night.
And after Edmonton stole Game 1 in the NHL playoffs, you can bet on the Stars to rebound at home in Game 2 this weekend.
Hurts.
I was trying to set that up, and I knew you were trying to steal it, but I was going to steal it back. Go there and play in the sports book. Go play in the casino. Play the slots. Play the live casino. Real live dealers dealing you those cards. Play blackjack and a variety of games. Go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere.
We appreciate all of your support this week. It's been such a fun week. We've gotten to do a brand new series of tabletop games, which we're going to continue to introduce throughout the month of June. We've got trivia, if you missed it, with John versus EG versus Lance on Wednesday. That's probably what I would recommend you watch most right now, in that it was really entertaining, really fun to be a part of. Lance took some big swings, and it was just a lot of fun. Tyler, if you're a big Tyler fan, Tyler was a huge part of Wednesday's episode, so make sure you check that out. And then yesterday, we goofed off for 3+ hours playing video games, and I didn't notice this when I first was a part of it, live in the moment, but going back, EG showed me today, her first race, she goes in reverse for about a good 30 seconds before figuring out how to accelerate forward.
I don't remember where I put it, but there's a piece that was on. It was this weird controller. So it was controller Laurel got me for my birthday, and it had this piece in the back that every time you held the controller tight, it'd push a button and turn it around to where you went backwards. And so she's holding the button, hitting the gas, like, why am I going backwards? I didn't realize it either, but I went back and watched it. It was pretty funny.
So
she did not do
very
well.
funny.
It was not funny when you end up with that
And then
controller
Tyler got it.
and you click the button a few times and you say, is this a button, Tim? And Tim says, oh, don't
I
worry
didn't think
about it.
was-
It's
I
not a
didn't think
button.
it was a button.
The thing is, Tyler asked, "Is this a button?" And then I look at it. Oh, it's a button. I got to take the thing off. EG's just like, I don't know what's happening, and so I can't take the. I would have fixed it, but she's just like, I don't know, and just smashing buttons. At least Tyler knows. Oh, this is a button. I need you to
I
fix
didn't
it.
try to sabotage you, Tyler, other than putting you through those Mario time trials at the beginning. That was a little bit of sabotage.
But-
That's tough.
That
That's
was
tough.
rough.
tough.
Yeah.
A lot of trash talk from both EG and Reed. Neither one lived up to the hype.
Whole week of fun content. We hope you enjoyed it, and we've enjoyed this journey with you. We'll see you back again live on Tuesday following the Memorial Day holiday, and we appreciate all of you for stopping by right here, our Meltdown Studios, as we'll see you in a couple of days.